The year is 4th century BC, and Aristotle has recently written a critique of arguments that assume the reality of their conclusion. It's still the 4th century BC, and Aristotle has just proposed a novel hypothesis that because the Earth is the center of the cosmos, humanity is the only being in the universe. You should pay attention to him. It's 1990, and a federal district court in Virginia is preparing to hear a case brought by a prospective student against a university. She has filed a complaint over the admissions policy at Virginia Military Institute, which excludes women. VMI is a publicly financed university that uses a unique and rigorous way to produce citizen warriors. Every pupil is exposed to the same program of tremendous physical and emotional stress, as well as lack of privacy. I'm absolutely not sorry to be left out. VMI is Virginia's sole single-sex public university. There is no analogous institution for women because VMI is a government school. By law, it cannot practice gender-based exclusion without compelling justification. It must demonstrate that its single-sex admissions policy is a necessary step toward achieving vital governmental goals. The Commonwealth of Virginia claims that admitting women would jeopardize VMI's pedagogical techniques. The state asserts that single-sex education is an important governmental goal, and that the exclusion of women from VMI is necessary to achieve that goal. Given how highly they regard rigor, their argument definitely lacks it. I'll have to correct them. Oh, please, Your Honor, you can't possibly let that argument stand. Virginia is effectively declaring that single-sex education should be permitted because it supports the imperative of single-sex education. You could argue that witch hunts should be supported because they meet a need for witch hunts. These are examples of circular reasoning, sometimes known as question begging, when the reasoning for a conclusion presumes that the conclusion is correct. Rather than explaining why it's true, consider whether witch hunts should be encouraged. The evidence presented suggests that witch hunts are necessary. However, both the assertion and the so-called evidence for the claim leave the same question unanswered. Why are witch hunts required? There isn't even a point being stated here. Circular reasoning may appear simple, and in some ways it is. Even a human can quickly detect circular logic in an argument such as the baby was born because her mother gave birth to her. Where you get into problem is when you think that an opinion or present condition of affairs is a reality because it's so familiar or long-lasting, when in fact it's an assumption, as centuries of astronomers and mathematicians did to explain anomalies in the planet's orbits. Instead of questioning the premise that the planets orbited the Earth, you modern humans may comprehend that the planets truly orbit the Sun, but you're still vulnerable to your own assumptions. So you may hear that men and women should be treated differently because the law does, and you may say, well, that makes logical. The law has always regarded them differently, but that is simply a fact. It's not a rationale for why this should be the case. And just because something is true does not make it proof of what is correct. So, as a judge, I'm sure you won't mind hearing a little more evidence. It is 1996, and the case has reached the United States Supreme Court. The court ruled by a vote of 7-1 that I need to start admitting ladies. The verdict is delivered by Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who criticizes the state of Virginia for its circular reasoning. If I may, I'd like to bring my friend here up to speed on your logic, and while I'm at it, I'll borrow it. Let's see what happens now. She shows out Virginia's reasoning for not admitting women to VM. As a means to a goal, I provided the means. That example, it was argued that women should be barred from attending because the school's stated objective was to produce citizen soldiers prepared to take on leadership roles in American society and aim. According to Justice Ginsburg, this is certainly broad enough to cover women alone in my universe at last droughts. What, have I not taught you enough? I'm sure you're curious about the witch hunts. As previously said, click here to put your talents to the test. Click here to learn about one of Aristotle's most sound persuasive communication theories.